What's up, YouTube? Jeff here again from High on Android and DopeTechDaily.com. And today I'm here with what you guys have all been waiting for, my official full review of the Moto X Pure Edition. Now, you guys saw me unbox the Moto X Pure Edition, went through all the contents, and for all the haters out there who had some things to say about my shock of how big the box is, this is still a big box. I think this is a big box for the phone. And as you guys saw, there weren't any earbuds in there, just a charger, a phone, and then a bumper case. So I still think it's a big box. So the haters didn't convince me that it is not. I still think it's big. That's about all I got to say about that. So let's put that out of the way. So to the main attraction today, the full review of the phone itself. Here it is, my champagne and white Moto X Pure Edition. As you guys can see, my Moto X Pure still got a little mark that came out of the box. Still there. I couldn't get it off. Tried to wipe it off. And let's just go through. So you guys saw my Axon Pro review. You probably saw the way I normally do my reviews. I make a Google Keep document and just go through the things. This time I tried to memorize the things that are in my Google Keep document, so hopefully I won't forget anything. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the build. So the build of the Moto X Pure, it's a really, really good build. And the best thing about this phone is that you can choose the build that you want, essentially, the materials at least, because on the back you can get a choice of this silicone material, which is soft, I've got on mine. You can get a wood back, right? You can get a leather back. You can choose your own materials with Moto Maker, which makes this a huge win in my opinion. I think that's one of the best things about Motorola is they give you choice, they give the user choice. Now around the sides you do have this metal construction here. You can see the champagne on mine. Looks really classy, I think. You can choose different colors, of course, there as well. On the front I've got white. Of course you can get a black front as well. You can customize that. Customize your accent colors. I got the standard white champagne model because I got mine off Amazon. But if you're into customizing your phone, you just can't go wrong with this phone. And in addition, the build on this silicone back model that I got feels great. There's a great grip here. It's easy to hold on to. This little dimple here from the camera module makes it really easy to hold. Put your finger there when you're taking a call. It's really easy to grip this guy, and it really makes it an enjoyable experience when you're holding the phone, especially if you're taking a call or something like that. In addition to that, the back seems to be really durable. Now I used this for the first almost a week without a case. I went naked. I did use the bumper that came with it. Talk about that in just a second. And then I switched over to a case. But this thing's really durable. I used it without with a case for a while. You can see I don't really have any scratches on the bottom. And I've been resting this in my cup holder when I'm using Android Auto. And then you can see really no scratches or any damage on my device. So the back didn't get scuffed up. That little mark has been there since I took it out of the box. Everything's still in great shape. So it's durable in addition to looking really stylish and giving you a nice grip. So overall, I think the build on this phone is beautiful. It's functional as well as looking really good. Now quickly, let me talk about those cases. You guys saw me talk about this bumper case. I actually put this on in my original unboxing. Now, this bumper case actually gets a little loose on the phone. So in terms of recommending this bumper case, I would say if you have to, just take it out of the box. You can use this bumper case, just slap it right on there. But I wouldn't use it for a long period of time because it actually was loose around the frame a little bit. I kind of wish that it had been a little bit tighter. I was worried about maybe the phone slipping out when I was using it. So I'd highly recommend, if you want to, again, this is a very simple, just a clear bumper. It's going to give you minimal protection. It's still got the buttons sort of exposed so you can press them. So this does come in the box, and it's nice that they give you that. I wouldn't recommend using this for long periods of time, especially if you're a case kind of junkie or you want to get another case. That actually leads me into the case I did get, which was the Incipio Feather. So you guys saw me do this feather-like case. If you want to check out the video, I'll link this one in the description. This is what I've been using. You can see it's gotten a little scuffed up on the back, caught a few fingerprints, but it's got a nice matte finish and sort of gives you a nice grip on the phone that kind of resembles the silicone back on the Moto X. So I definitely recommend picking up another case. And again, just nitpicking here, I actually love a lot of things about this phone. One thing I don't like about this phone is that there aren't that many third-party case options available. So the Incipio case I found, and then I've been using the bumper case that came with it a little bit, but those are really the only third-party case options that are out there. There's a few others on Amazon, a couple other Incipio cases that I got, and if you take a look at my Incipio video, people suggested some. I've ordered all the cases that everybody asked for in the comments. They're on the way. Some of those cases are not going to arrive until September 30th. So when I get those in, I will do the next episode of Case Wars on cases for the Moto X Pure. So since I love switching cases, that's one negative thing about the Moto X. There aren't going to be a whole lot of them today, so I tried to find things to sort of nitpick on, obviously, so not everything about the phone's positive, and one thing I think is kind of a negative is the lack of third-party accessories. It's not an iPhone, it's not a Galaxy, so you're not going to get the most accessories. So that's a small thing, but overall the build's quality, just wish there were more accessories for the phone. I'm sure there'll be some more coming, but there's not going to be nearly as many as for a Samsung or an Apple product. All right, so next, let's talk about the actual software experience on here. So the software experience on this phone is actually pretty fantastic. As we mentioned in the original unboxing video, this phone is running a close to stock build of Android, which Motorola has always been sort of known for, and it does a really, really nice job of giving you a fluid experience without sacrificing any features. So in addition to running, a really nice clean version of Android, you see running 5.1.1, Motorola has also included some nice features for you. Let me go back. They've included some nice features, and one of my favorite features that Motorola includes in their phone is the Motorola privacy features and the Motorola ID features. You can see right here, you can actually sign in with your Motorola ID, and then you can get personalized recommendations. You can also then use the Moto Active display, and everything will be personalized a little bit more. And then you also get the Motorola privacy features here, just sort of let you, if you want to contribute to device feedback, etc., you can set that privacy controls right there and actually read the privacy policy. So it's kind of nice that they give you access to that right in there. Not all the companies do. Some of them just ask you in the beginning if you want to, contribute your data, and then you can't go back and later and read, easily opt out. But here you can do that. And then, of course, the other thing that's really great about the Motorola phone, as I just mentioned, is if you go into the display, you can actually choose inside here how you want your display to appear. You can either keep the attentive display on, or you can have battery saver mode. The screen sleeps when you're not looking. And then the other thing that you can do, of course, is you can set your different screen notifications. You can use either Moto Display, which is the Moto Active display, which is Motorola's version of notifications on the lock screen, which is actually really, really nice if you've never used it. It gives you a nice way to peek at your notifications. And in addition to that, you can also choose the stock Lollipop ambient display, which wakes the display for a list of current notifications, but it doesn't give you as nice of a job as peeking into the information as you might get with Moto Active display. And then as you can see right here, I have mine currently set to none. That's just because I've played with all three, and most of the time when I'm at work, I like to leave off none, just because then I'm constantly seeing the screen sort of flash, which is a nice thing if you want to check out your notifications, but for me, I've been rocking it with it off. But again, the good thing is with Motorola, you have this choice. The choice to sign into Motorola ID and get these personalized recommendations, the choice to choose your type of display for notifications, the choice to read the privacy policy and opt out right in the settings. Those are all things they give you right in here. And then, as I mentioned, you can also use Motorola Connect, which is one place where if you have a Moto 360, if you have the Motorola Keylink, if you have the Motorola headphones, which I'm actually going to do a review on the 2 headphones that they released at their event, you can control those devices here. So I'll probably give a tour of that when I do the headphone review. There are 2 pairs of headphones they announced at their event this year. And then there's also the Moto app itself, which again you can use to make Moto yours and then adjust obviously when you're doing driving and get your notifications personalized for Moto Active display. So obviously I use Android Auto, so I haven't quite used this that much, but I have used it before on my Moto G, and I've definitely given this a try. But again, since I'm using Android Auto, the phone's plugged in, so I haven't used the auto features and I haven't used Moto Active display that much. But it is great to have that option, and it actually is a great notification system. If you never tried it, I recommend you giving Moto Active display a try. You might like it. All right, so the software, fantastic. Got a lot of features without adding a lot of extra bloatware, and overall pretty close to stock experience that I really enjoy. The next thing I want to talk about is the performance, which goes right along with the software. I've experienced 0 lag on this phone. So this phone has been lag-free for me. I can open up a bunch of apps, and to be honest, I can sort of just scroll through, just keep opening up apps, and I don't really have any problems opening up apps, no sort of stuttering, and actually less lag than the Galaxy S6, less lag than the LG G4, which is really, really impressive. Having the stock Android, obviously you can go over and get to Google Now on the left. It's really, really nice. So this has been really smooth, and for that reason alone, I would rank it above the S6 and the G4. It's just a lot smoother. So overall, the software experience on this, fantastic. I can't say enough about how much I like the overall user experience. The next thing I want to talk about is the display. So the display on this is actually one place where I would say it's not the greatest. It's not terrible, but the viewing angles for this display are not quite as good as the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus. They're not as good as the Note 5. I think Samsung makes the best displays. I talked about that in my Axon Pro review, if you guys caught that. The viewing angles aren't the best, and also they're not quite as bright as the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus and the Note 5, especially when you're outside like me in the bright Arizona sun. It's definitely not nearly as bright as those Samsung phones. Now, is that a deal breaker? Of course not. That's not a huge deal breaker. We're talking about a phone that's almost half the price, so of course it's not a huge problem. You do get some nice vibrant colors. The blacks just aren't quite as black as they are on the Galaxy Note 5 with the Super AMOLED display from Samsung. I just feel like the colors are a little more vibrant. Some people call them oversaturated, if you want, on the Samsung displays. But overall, this display is not terrible. It's just not the best panel out there. That's one nitpicky thing I would say. Still looks great for a QHD display. And to be honest, when I compare it to the Galaxy S6, if I'm not looking at viewing angles and carefully comparing colors, there isn't a huge difference between the two. The next thing, of course, is the camera. That's the one thing that everybody was interested in on this phone. The camera on this phone in general I found to be really nice. The only problem is it doesn't have a lot of options. So if we swipe over, we can take a look at some of them. You have HDR, your flash mode here. Here you can control the focus and the exposure, which has that little ring that you just saw when I had it popped up. Here you have night mode on, so you can take better pictures at night. And then down here you've got your video camera. You can choose your various options, do slow-mo even, widescreen or standard. You can set a timer, of course, which makes sense. And you can take a panorama shot. You can choose to set your storage to the SD card. You can choose your location being on or off. And here you can turn the gestures. So you can do quick capture where you twist your wrist to quickly capture photos. That's pretty awesome, and I kind of like that actually. But overall, you can't do manual mode or anything really cool like that, which you can do with the, take my Galaxy S6 Edge Plus or with the Note 5. So again, if I just quickly, I have the panorama mode on, of course. Let me just swipe and turn panorama mode off, and then go back up here. And now you can see right there, you can adjust the brightness and the focus right here. The only thing I've noticed is when you use the brightness, it kind of goes from being too dark to being too bright. So if you actually take a look at some of my photos on Instagram, I use some of this to adjust a few of the most recent photos I've taken. And in the end, see, there's kind of not much gray area, pardon the pun, between really dark and really light on the Moto X camera. So it's nice to be able to adjust the focus. You can tap to adjust your focus point here, right? You can move it around to adjust your focus point, and then also move up your brightness. But in my opinion, they kind of blow out the brightness a little too much, or it's either too dark, and that also gives you a little more noise with the Moto X camera. But overall, if you go and look at some of my photos, actually if we go in gallery, I'll show you guys a few. The rest of them are on my Instagram and also linked in my Q&A video. So I posted a link to the full res photos over there on the Q&A video where I had my Google Photos albums, so you guys could see those. So there's some more recent photos I took. Here's one with the front-facing camera. Someone asked for that. It's actually got a really nice front-facing camera. I shot my Q&A video with that, so some people asked how good it is. I'll post this photo as well. I took this one. This is one where I used the brightness boost. So you can see the difference. That's with the brightness boost on. That's with it off, using the brightness adjustment. It does look better, but you can see the background sort of blown out too much. Also, my hand is way too bright. And then here I took some pictures of the Huawei watch. Let's see here. And then all of these other ones, I believe, are ones that I took for the most part and then posted up online. Here's a few I took at night, actually. These were a really, really dark night. There was no light at all. And the Moto X, again, it takes great pictures in the day, but you can see at night, and here I went by a street light to get a little light. Unless you have a substantial amount of light from a street light or something like that, the Moto X does not take the best photos in the pitch black. Sort of, I mean, of course, no camera does, but the Note 5 and the Edge Plus, the Galaxy S6 and the G4, overall, they just do a much better job taking photos at night. So if you want to check out all my other photos, all of these are the ones you guys saw from my photo album on Google Photos. That link is in my Q&A video, which I'll link below. So the bottom line on this camera, which a lot of people have said, takes great photos during the day. It doesn't take the greatest photos at night. unless you have some substantial lighting source. But, you know, again, for the price, I think it's really good. It's comparable to the Note 5 and the Edge Plus in the day. If you look at some of the comparisons, I have a comparison album on the Q&A. But again, it's really kind of mediocre at night. Again, that's expected. I mean, again, the difference is quite large between the Note 5 and this phone. So the camera, good in the day, mediocre at night, but I think you can live with that for the price. At least I can. So we talked about the build, we talked about the display a little bit. Now we talked about the camera. Battery life, that's something everybody wants to know about. Now my battery life situation is a little different than everybody else's because I have my phone connected to Android Auto when I'm driving during the daytime. But if you look for today, for instance, 42 minutes and 27 seconds, I actually didn't plug into Android Auto. I've got 72% left. So if you project that out linearly, right, I'm going to get about 3 hours. And that's about what I've been getting, 3 to 3.5 hours. And again, I have really heavy usage on my phone. So as you guys can see, I'm using the Huawei watch. It's connected to the Moto X. I always connect my Moto X to Bluetooth speakers and Bluetooth headphones when I'm at work. The only time I get a little charge up is when I have this phone connected to Android Auto, which I didn't do today. So I would say 3.5 hours for heavy use would be my bottom line. If you're not a heavy user, if you're not on Instagram, social media, watching YouTube videos, connecting to multiple Bluetooth devices, I have real-time tweets enabled in Phoenix, which drains a lot of battery. If you're not doing all that stuff, you can probably get 4 hours out of this. I'd say that's pretty solid battery life. It's not the best in the world. The Note 5 and the Edge Plus get me about 4 to 4.5. So I'd say I average more battery life with those phones. But this is still pretty good, and I think most people could live with this. It would be nice if it had a removable battery, but the one thing it does have, which makes it livable, is it's got quick charge. So Motorola included for you a quick charge port. It's actually faster than the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus or the Note 5. I can charge this 0 to 100 in about an hour, sometimes a little bit less, which makes it amazing. So if you need to come home and top up, you can top up your whole phone in less than an hour. So if you need to grab some quick charge wherever you are, you can do that. The quick charger makes it really convenient. So overall, the battery life, I would say, it's mediocre. It's one of the things that's not the best about the phone, but for the price and with the quick charging, I think most people can probably live with it. So overall, again, we sort of ran down most of the things about this phone. Again, I've talked about in my Q&A that Project Fi, like Wi-Fi, works with this phone. You guys can see I'm using it. So here's Project Fi. You can see I'm using some data up right there on Project Fi. I've been using this. I also used it with T-Mobile. I also used it with AT&T. I also use it with Verizon. That's the other great thing about this phone. It works with any carrier, including Project Fi. The one thing I did notice, some people asked, it does not auto switch between Sprint and T-Mobile. And also I do not know about band 12 because here in Phoenix, the Phoenix area, we don't have band 12 because some local stations conflict. We don't have band 12 yet on T-Mobile. So I've only seen sort of staying on the regular T-Mobile bands we get in Phoenix, T-Mobile LTE bands, no Sprint, no auto switching to Wi-Fi. So you're not really getting the full Project Fi experience, but if you already have a Project Fi SIM card and you really want to use it, you can pop it right in here and it will work. And all of the carriers work great. I did get varying battery life depending on which carrier I was using. I got the best battery life with T-Mobile, got about 4 to 4.5 hours. With Verizon, I got the worst for whatever reason, about 3 to 3.5. And with Project Fi, I've been right in the middle, 3.5 to 4 hours, which I don't think is that bad at all. So that's another win for this phone. Can be used with any carrier. I didn't use it with Sprint because that's the only carrier I don't have. But again, you shouldn't have any problems using it with Sprint either. That's pretty much the bottom line on this phone. The other thing that I really like is the front-facing speakers. They're super loud. Watching media on this thing is crazy. It's a really, really good experience. Speakers are super loud, and that coupled with the nice big display gives you a really good experience for viewing YouTube videos or anything else you might want to do. And again, the display is not as great as the Note 5 or the Edge Plus, but it's definitely a great QHD display. The audio just immerses you, and it's great, much better than having speakers down here or on the back, which is even worse. They're actually pretty comparable to the HTC One M9 boom sound, in my opinion. They're really that good. They're really, really close. So overall, let's see, anything else I don't like? I don't really like having the headphone jack right here in the middle. That's just me. That's a personal preference, not really a huge problem. You also get expandable storage on this phone. So that is one thing you're going to need, because if you go in here and look, that's one thing I did want to mention as well, which is the storage. I have 16.47 gigabytes available now after I installed a bunch of apps. it came with 24 gigabytes out of the box. So you lose 8 gigabytes. So if you get a 16 gigabyte model, it's going to be tough. You're only going to have maybe 8 gigs available, or maybe a little more out of the box. So you're going to want that micro SD slot. You guys can see I've got a 64 gigabyte micro SD card in there. So you can throw a micro SD card in here, be good to go. Now you've got 80, 90 gigabytes of storage, and you'll be set. So overall, my bottom line on this phone, I love the Moto X Pure. I'm going to put this into my contention for phone of the year. It's right up there with the Note 5 and Edge Plus. I would say the value is what puts it in the phone of the year category, mainly because it's so good for the price you pay. You can pay $399 for 16 gig, $450 for a 32 gig unlocked, and get a phone that's really, really close to the Note 5 and Edge Plus. I wouldn't put it above the Note 5 and Edge Plus in performance, of course, but you're also paying an extra $250 to $300. So this phone is definitely one of my favorite phones of the year. It's going to be in my rotation for the rest of the year, the rest of 2015, probably most of 2016 as well. I love the experience on this phone. I really can't recommend it enough. I'm going to do a full comparison with this, the OnePlus 2 and the ZT Axon Pro. Those are all sort of in the same price range. So stay tuned for that. But I can tell you, spoiler alert, the Moto X is the best buy of all the phones in that class. All right, guys, so that wraps up my review of the Moto X Pure. Overall, great phone. And if you have any additional questions that I haven't answered here or in my original Q&A video, which I'll link below, please hit me in the comments or on Twitter or Google+. You can find my links in the description. You guys can check out news.highonandroid.com and dopetechdaily.com. I am going to have a huge giveaway coming up when I hit 5,000 subs. Haven't done one in a while. I've been waiting for a big one at 5K. So that's coming up on dopetechdaily.com. I appreciate you guys watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.